It feels so damn good to be a Niner fan right now. Oh my gosh. 37 points on the Washington Commanders. Almost called them the Washington football team. I don't even know what their names are anymore. Either way, the 49ers showed out today. Great win after being tied at halftime. We're going to talk all about it. But you know what? I figured since it's my first show in a little over a week, being back from the Dominican Republic, that I would make this show about y'all, let you guys get your takes off because we are coming up on the end of the year. We are coming up on Christmas. And so my gift is to give the platform back to y'all. That's what you guys deserve. So I'm giving it to you next. So make sure you call in. Link is pinned to the top of the chat. Let's go. All right. Welcome back to Last Second Sports, where we are giving you our take down to the last second. 37 points on the Washington Commanders. I just talked about it. The game is winding down. Figured I would get on a few minutes before it ends. Maybe if we can knock this out in about an hour or so, depending on your calls. If you guys want to go longer, we'll go longer. But I assume Christmas Eve, a lot of people want to get with their families. I want to do the same thing, but we got to talk about this Niner game. I've been in the Dominican Republic for the last week, and I am jonesing to talk about the 49ers, but this show is about y'all. I got things that I want to talk about or I'm willing to talk about, but I do have callers waiting, so I'm going to get to those callers. If you want to call in, link is pinned to the top of the chat. I always say this, do so early. If you want to get on, do so early. Get your spot, get your call in. As we go, usually it builds up and gets a little busy. So with that being said, I'm going to get with the first caller. Mr. Paul Gaither has been waiting very patiently. What's up, Paul? How you doing, man?
Hey, Jess, much love coming to you from Lima, Peru. For us, we celebrate Christmas at midnight, so the family is hyped.
What time is it in Peru right now?
It's almost the same time for you because you said you're in Florida. We're actually 7 p.m. because we don't have daylight savings time down here. We don't follow that.
Okay.
We're not about that.
That's cool, though. You guys celebrated at midnight, you said?
Yeah, that's what we do. That's how it is down here. Fireworks, the whole deal, man. It's crazy. It's good stuff. It's a different culture down here.
That's legit.
California,
I like it.
love it. I mean, I'm ripping my own team. I got my own team of amateur football players. We've been doing it since 2012.
Well, here, let me bring you on camera real quick. Hold on.
Oh, okay. I thought we were on split already.
Yeah, I want to see. There we go. Well, let's give them some shine here. Let's give these guys some shine.
Because they're the ones that earn it. They're the ones that go out there all the time. I've been coaching and playing with these guys. Found them in 2012, just a few guys. Before COVID, we had 12 teams. COVID hurt us. We got about 8 teams or so, but we play hard. But it's not about them. It's about the Niners, right? I just got to rep them on camera. So, wow, I'm so proud to talk about these 49ers. I was born in 84, so I didn't get to watch, that squad that beat Miami live, right? Man, this is maybe the best defense I've ever seen. Maybe. I don't know what you think. 2011 was historic. 94 was good, but this might be the best.
You know what? So some of those defenses in the 80s were great. It's so tough. It is very tough to compare though, because different rules, right? Back then, you really could get your hands on receivers. You could hold, you could hit people violently across the middle. There was so much more that you could do back in the 80s and even early 90s. Hell, the rules really didn't start changing until the early 2000s, and they've gotten more and more lenient. I've got to say, degree of difficulty, I certainly could lean towards this team because it is absolutely a passing league. 100% it's a passing league. It is geared towards offenses. And right now you're seeing a shift in the league where these two high safety looks are really giving the league problems. Scoring is down league wide, I think, for the second year in a row. So, yeah, I mean, this defense right now is every bit elite, and it's incredible to watch. I mean, how can you watch a 49er game and just not smile ear to ear watching this defense go to work. It's absolutely incredible.
It's not very often over the years, growing up, being able to say, hey, I'm paying attention to every defensive play because you don't know if they're going to take the ball away or whatever. It's incredible. That 2010, you look at them in the playoffs, the 11, the 12, like that was historic defense. There's a long gap in between where you're like, oh, okay, you can listen to it, go make a sandwich or whatever, you come back. But this defense is like, I don't want to miss a snap on D, right? So yeah, that's why I start giving credit to them first. Also, some people hate on Wishnowsky. Like, I love what he's doing. Special teams, gotta give him props. Gould has been solid for us. And then let's turn our attention to the offense. I want to stay positive with everything. Maybe you've seen my comments in the past. Just so happy with what Brock is doing. Okay. I think that I can say that. I think that I can say that I want to see this and more from Lance when he's healthy and has time to develop. I think that's fair to say. I think it's fair to say that he's capable of doing this and more, right? But we want to see it, right, and be healthy. And that's what hurts the most about the injury, right, is he's not even out there, running plays, right? That's unfortunate. But come on, can we just be happy for Brock? He's done something no one else has done. Joe didn't do this. Steve didn't do this. Jeff Garcia didn't do this. Like, no one has done this. That's what they were talking about in the broadcast the whole time. When all these games, and yeah, he didn't start for the game against Miami, but after the first drive, it was pretty much his game, right? I mean,
yeah, it's one of those situations where he's not going to be credited for the win, right? But we know who won the game. Like we know who won the game. He came in extremely early on. I think they were down, if I remember correctly. So they were down 7-3 possibly. So yeah, I mean, it's not going to count as a win, but it certainly should be his win. And I agree. I mean, there's no reason not to be happy for Brock. Like, it can be both. You can be I don't know how to put this. Your heart can go out to Trey, right? And you can want the best for him and think, all right, the future's Trey and we're ready to go, but also be happy for Purdy. And in this moment right now, I mean, for now, it's Purdy's team. Now, there is some things going on with Jimmy Garoppolo. We'll see how all that goes. But for right now, this is Purdy's team, and Purdy is doing everything that we could have hoped for and more. I mean, this is the last pick in the draft. It all depends on how you're evaluating Brock Purdy, right? If you're really trying to crown him as the franchise guy going forward, okay, well, we can talk about that, and we can really get into the nitty-gritty and maybe some areas of weakness, and we can talk about that. But if you're just looking at him for what he is, which is a rookie quarterback, last pick in the draft, he has way outplayed expectations, and it's not even close. He's doing a phenomenal job, and the team is sturdy enough with him at quarterback that this defense and this run game absolutely can go out and win you a trophy. Will it happen? I don't know. But for right now, man, they seem to be on a collision course with Philly, and I love every second of it.
I know that I can be full of cliches, and I can just say, hey, there's 32 teams. Only one of them's going to be happy at the end of the year.
For sure.
We'll be lucky if it's one of ours.
Yeah.
And I know I'm just paraphrasing my best friend, Bill Walsh, but all the stuff that I've read of his and his books and his seminars and all that, it's like he said, I don't care, how many players are in the draft. Is there enough players for us? And I don't care where you're drafted. I just care how you play when you're with us, right?
Yep.
So, like, this Mr. Irrelevance, it don't matter. He's on the team, right? So, as you just said, you said it perfect. Like, I just want to see Brock do. I want to be in the position where we have a quarterback controversy, and that's not an insult on Lance. It's like, I want Brock to go out there and just keep getting better and better and winning a ring, so we have that controversy. That's a good problem to have. Right?
Oh, yeah, of course. Hold on. If you're telling me going into next year, we have two quarterbacks that are 23 years old making fractions of a penny. Yes, of course. That's a great problem to have. And two guys that, if they're playing, can win you games 1,000%. That's a great problem to have going forward, for sure.
Sorry. Do you think he's going to be making pennies, though, if he ends up winning a trophy or plays well in a championship game? Or do you think that they got to renegotiate a contract?
Nope. They don't got to do anything. He's here for 4 years. 4
Okay,
years.
yeah.
And why would you rush it? Like think of it from the 49ers standpoint. Like let's carry this all the way out for a second. Eric, you're going to be next, by the way. We're going to go Eric Dane. There's two Erics. Eric Dane, Eric Wallace, CJ, if he can get his camera stuff figured out, and then we got Will waiting. But let's carry this all the way through. Best case scenario, Purdy looks really good, wins the Super Bowl. They crown him starting quarterback next year, future of the franchise, all those things. They rushed to pay Jimmy Garoppolo because of the situation that they were in. Okay. It was a situation where what was the other option? They could have drafted another quarterback, maybe gone out and got Kirk Cousins, but really, like, Jimmy had come in, won 5 games, looked good. They paid him immediately. Well, maybe not the best decision in hindsight, right? In hindsight, I understand why they did it in that moment, but in hindsight, it might not have been the best decision. So with Brock Purdy under contract for 3 more years, and you have a quarterback who you spent as much capital as you did on Trey Lance, there is no reason to just dime out Brock Purdy. Allow him to play out this contract, prove that he is the guy long term, and do that. Like that right there is how you play out that situation. If you go and just give him the bag right away, I would be highly disappointed in the 49ers.
If I could clarify and respond a little bit here. One, you had to pay Jimmy. He won 5 games for you. He was a contract year. If you don't pay him, he's a free agent. So
Yeah.
I don't really like that argument because, I mean, it's just that's what it was.
But they could have franchise tagged him. They could have franchise tagged him and made it a 1 year deal.
Franchise tag him, really? Like, I don't want to get too lost on that in the limited time you give
Okay.
me. The second point is this. I see it like we just said. He is Mr. Irrelevant. He is on a contract of Mr. Irrelevant. And I'm not saying give him the bag, make him the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. What I'm saying is, like, just like Raheem Mostert, he was being paid, special teams, like practice squad, nobody money. So he held out just to get a reasonable deal. I'm not saying Brock Purdy's going to hold out like to be the highest paid or get the bag, but if he plays like this and he keeps this and he stays healthy, I think you got to renegotiate a contract in the sense that he's being paid, better than Sudfeld and all these other guys. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about giving him $30 million a year, but I'm talking about stop paying him, Mr. Relevant money because that's what he's signed under. That's what I'm talking about. Like,
yeah, I guess I could see what you're saying. For me, I'm really not. I don't know. Me personally, if I'm running the team, I'm making him prove it for a full season. Like, once the league's caught up to him and all those other things, and this is not. And again, we've just played out best case scenario. They won the Super Bowl. He's given the starting job. Like, it's not even a competition. Like, he's just done so good that he's given the starting job. All those other things, because I have Trey Lance on the team, and because of what I gave up for Trey Lance, I am okay if Purdy's like, oh, I'm going to hold out, which I don't think he would. It just doesn't come across as that guy that would do that. And then playing Lance versus giving him extra money. If he does play very well again into next season, then yes, 100%. And I'm not only giving him just a little increase, like, I'm just going to pay him. You know what I mean? If he wins the Super Bowl and plays really good to follow it up for a season, that would be the incentive. Hey, Brock, listen, we're not going to give you $2 million or give you a peanuts deal. We want to see you prove it for a year. And if you do it, and we expect you to, you have 2 years left on your deal. We're going to rip that baby up and we're going to give you a bag. That's what I would tell Brock Purdy. That's how I would play it.
Thank you so much, Jess. Thank you, everyone else in the queue. Thank you, everyone watching. Smash that like button. Subscribe to this man. He's like one of the best content creators out there.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate you. Shout out to those kids, man. Shout out to those kids. Keep doing a great job coaching them, and Merry Christmas to you and your family, okay? All right, brother. All right, hold on. Make sure that here we go. Eric Dane coming to you next, bud. Purdy, me. It's obvious that Kyle trusts Purdy more than Jimmy and way more than Trey. Trey is cheap for a starter, but not for an inexperienced backup. I think the vet that adds more to the QB room makes sense. No, I appreciate what you're saying. I mean, it also sounds like by the name that you're probably just ready to turn this team over to Purdy long term, and maybe you're right on that. I am still not ready to do that, but he's playing fantastic. I just want to see the season play out as is, but I'm not going to make any rash decisions of Purdy's the long-term starter trading Trey Lance, any of those things. I'm not going to do it. I'm sorry. But I do appreciate the contribution. Merry Christmas to you and your family. All right, Eric, I'm coming to you, brother. Mr. Dane, it's been a while. How you been?
Yes, sir. It has, man. You haven't been doing the call-in shows.
I know. You know what? It's hard during the season because really, like with the schedule the way that it is, I have 7 to 10 shows a week, just kind of depending on what happens. And so the only day that really makes sense to do a consistent call-in is on Thursday. But then you're competing with the football game. It's like, well, I kind of want to watch the football game too, just like everybody else. I want to know what's going on around the league, not just the 49ers. So it's kind of tough, man. It's kind of tough.
Yeah.
But I do appreciate you calling in.
Yeah, no, I'm glad you had the show. Things are looking good, man. Niners are on an 8-game winning streak, looking great. You know,
yeah, I'd say so.
I was thinking actually, since tomorrow's Christmas, and you know, you kind of look like Santa Claus if Santa was and rode a motorcycle. So, you know, I was thinking I wanted to ask you for a couple things for Christmas, Santa.
All right, let's do it.
All right, so this is simple. It's nothing too major. No.
Well, hold on. Before you get going, Eric, why does this from you not surprise me? I just want to throw that out there. You've always got the wildest, craziest things to say. I absolutely love it. Go ahead.
But yeah, no, but since so all right, 49ers Santa, I wanted to ask you, I got 2 simple requests for Christmas. I want a pin and I want a pillow. You think we could do that?
A pin and a what?
And a pillow.
And a pillow. Okay. Well,
yeah. Nothing too expensive, nothing too complicated.
Gotcha.
But you know, I was kind of hoping to get those things for Christmas. So with the pin, I'd like to use that. We got to put a pin in this Trey Lance, Jimmy Garoppolo, Brock Purdy conversation until the offseason. Because, you know, as far as I could tell, only one of those guys is healthy. Only one can play. And the 49ers, 8-game winning streak, they're about to go to the playoffs. It's looking like the only real competition in the NFC is going to be the Eagles, and their quarterback is hurt. You know, who knows what's going on with that. The 49ers actually been a lot better this year against mobile quarterbacks. And, you know, if you look at the Eagles, yeah, they only got 1 loss on the season, but who'd their 1 loss come to? Washington Commanders. Now, the Washington Commanders have a very similar style to the 49ers. They like to run the ball. They have a dominant defensive line, allows them to generate pressure without needing a blitz. They were able to match the Eagles physically, and that's one of the reasons they were able to win that game. So that could bode well for the playoffs going up against the 49ers. You know, 49ers and the Eagles, if the 49ers can match the Eagles' physicality, that could go a long way towards actually winning that game. And now you're looking at, you know, Super Bowl, and any given Sunday against a team like the Bills, Chiefs, Bengals, anything could happen. So, you know, I'd like to enjoy, as you know, me personally, I'd like to enjoy the rest of the season, going in the playoff run, the number 1 defense in the league. They showed today the 49ers, the defense allowing 15 points a game. That's including having given up 44 points to the Chiefs. And how many did they give up to the Falcons? 28, something like that.
The defense gave up 21 that game, but 28 in total. Jeff Wilson fumbled.
Yeah, so like the things are going really well, and it seems like half the conversation is, you know, Trey Lance this, Jimmy Garoppolo that, and it's like neither one of them can play. They're both injured. Now, if Jimmy can come back for the playoffs, and whether or not he starts over Brock Purdy is a conversation. And when we get to the offseason, if you guys want to say, I like this one, I don't like the other one, that's an offseason conversation is what I'm trying to say. So we could put a pin in that. Enjoy, you know, this is my request for the fans. Let's enjoy the rest of the season, enjoy this playoff run. It's looking like we're going to be playing the Giants in the first round. That's, I mean, easy W. Second round, it could potentially, you know, worst case scenario, the Vikings. I mean, the Vikings, they could barely win. Like, yeah, they're 10-0 this season in 1-score games. You lose one of those games in the playoffs and you're out of the playoffs. So you're playing with fire when you let every team hang in it. And the Vikings are the kind of team, they always let the other team hang in it. They just can't put anyone away. And if you mess around with the 49ers, you're going to end up in a situation where all of a sudden Christian McCaffrey gets a big play, George Kittle gets a big play, 49ers score, Nick Bosa gets a sack, you punt, and all of a sudden you're down by 2 scores. So it's looking to me like the 49ers are a really good team. All they got to worry about really in the NFC is the Eagles. I'd like to put a pin in the quarterback conversation until next year. And then with the pillow, I'd like to use the pillow. We got to put something to bed. We got to put to bed this whole conversation about Kyle Shanahan. I know that since Kyle Shanahan has been the coach, they've had a couple losing seasons. Last year they started 3-5. This year they started 3-4. This conversation has kept coming up. Should we replace Kyle Shanahan? It was happening this year when they were 3-4. Happened last year when they were 3-5. Happened during the losing seasons. We need to accept that it's done. Kyle Shanahan is the coach. John Lynch is general manager. They've done a great job. They are on an 8-game winning streak. They're on their third string quarterback. Now, if you can tell me what coach in the NFL, in college, high school, or some guy that you met at the bar you want to replace Kyle Shanahan with, who can have your team on an 8-game win streak with a third string quarterback, nobody wants to face the 49ers in the playoffs, and they have the third string quarterback. You tell me any other coach and general manager that could build a team where you get the last pick in the draft and you got a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl. Everyone agrees that they have a legitimate chance to win the Super Bowl, not just the fans, but the pundits and everybody else. This is a legitimate Super Bowl contender on their third string quarterback. So just accept it. Kyle Shanahan is not perfect. He's made mistakes. He'll continue to make mistakes. He's a human being, but he's a damn good football coach. And him and John Lynch have put together a great team. They just announced the Pro Bowl selections for this year. Some of the 49ers Pro Bowl selections. Talanoa Hufanga, drafted in the 6th round. Fred Warner, drafted in the 3rd round. George Kittle, drafted in the 5th round. Trent Williams, what did they give up for Trent Williams? Like a couple 3rd round picks or something?
Yeah, it was like a third and like something late. I thought it was something later, like a 5th.
Williams, if they were trading away right now, a couple 1st round picks. I mean, he's the best left tackle.
Well, I don't know at 34, but yes, his value is that. I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, so it's not just, I mean, you look at the safeties. They got not only Hufanga, but Tayshaun Gibson. They signed him as a free agent in the offseason. Nobody wanted him. Any other team could have had him. The Eagles, Vikings, all these other teams, Giants, the playoff teams in the NFC could have had Gibson. Nobody wanted him. And now the 49ers have the number 1 defense with guys like that. It's not all, Nick Bosa's. Yeah, Nick Bosa is great, but for every Nick Bosa, there's also a Dre Greenlaw who was drafted later. So I just want the fans to put a pin in the conversation about Trey and Jimmy, and then let's put to bed this whole conversation about Kyle Shanahan. He is at bare minimum a top 10 coach in the NFL, if not, arguably one of the best. He is our Bill Belichick. And anyone who's not on board, you just got to look at what's happening right now with a third string quarterback. Like I said, you show me another coach and general manager who could put together a team that could win with a third string quarterback. And at that point, I'll consider moving on from Kyle Shanahan. Until then, what else can you say? And like I said, it's not all 1st round picks. It's the 3rd, 4th, 5th round picks. Guys like George Kittle, Hufanga, across the board. It seems like every deal they make works out. The trade for Christian McCaffrey, they give up a lot, but he fits the offense perfectly. It's all phases. It's the draft. It's the way they draft. It's the players they get in free agency. Charvarius Ward has really helped solidify the secondary. He's a true shutdown corner. We saw against the Seahawks, he was shadowing DK Metcalf everywhere, took him out of the game. They've put together the best defense in the league and one of the best teams in the NFL. So I'd like all the fans to accept that Kyle Shanahan is a good coach, and we're lucky to have him.
All right, I'm going to address everything you said. I'm going to get you off because I have people waiting, Eric, and the 5 minutes is gone. It was so good talking to you again. Merry Christmas or Happy Holiday, whatever you celebrate, brother. We'll talk soon, hopefully, okay?
Thanks for having me on.
All right, man. All right, let me address a couple of things. Let me go back to Paul's call. CJ, you are absolutely right. My head must be in the clouds. I'm still on vacation mode. Forgive me, but you are absolutely right. You can't just rip up rookie deals. Paul was talking about reworking Purdy's deal after this year if they win a Super Bowl. I said, well, maybe after 2 years you can, work in something. I wouldn't do it after this year. You can't. That's the whole point of maybe drafting a guy like Purdy is you wait 3 years. That's the rule. If a player is drafted, you have to play 3 years, accrue 3 years before you can rework a deal or rip up that 4th year, essentially. So that's the way it works. They can't give Purdy any more money. That's a good thing for the 49ers. Not so great for Brock Purdy. Great thing for the 49ers. So best case scenario, 49ers go win a Super Bowl. They hand the keys over to the franchise over to Brock Purdy. There's nothing that Purdy can do to make more money, unfortunately. Hopefully he can get himself some endorsements, but from the 49ers pockets, they can't line his anymore. So absolutely right about that, CJ. I don't know what I was thinking, but I appreciate you throwing that in the chat, holding me accountable. The Eagles did lose to the Cowboys, it looks like. Again, Gardner Minshew was in. I still think it's 49ers and Eagles. Those are the two teams to me that make the most sense as far as a probable NFC championship game. Eric Wallace, I'm coming to you, then William Bennett, then Keith. Trachea Tracheotomy. Good. That's a nice one. I like it. Okay. What do you think we could get for Trey this offseason realistically? I was hopeful, but he is realistically is one more injury away from truly being a bust. I don't really see the fit in this offense either, I think is what you meant. Yeah. Okay. Let me work backwards. He wasn't drafted to run this exact offense. Like, the reason that you draft Trey Lance is because you can do more with him and you can push the ball downfield on a regular basis. That's why he was drafted. So that's why I have a hard time just moving on from Trey Lance and saying, oh man, the 49ers who looked at Jimmy Garoppolo and said, hey, we want to move on from this guy and we're going to give up the bank to do so because we don't want to run this offense, is going to just, if they don't win a Super Bowl, hand the keys over to Brock Purdy, who is essentially running the same offense as Jimmy Garoppolo. Now, where I will say the difference is he is willing to push the ball downfield in situations where there are open players, and he has not missed in those situations. I love that from Brock Purdy. But if you look at just the whole part of the game, and his average yards per target and the depth is actually less than what Jimmy Garoppolo does. So most of those throws are going to be short, intermediate throws. And then where the difference is between him and Jimmy is he can get mobile and he will take the shot, unlike Jimmy Garoppolo. But overall, the offense is staying roughly the same. So anyways, again, let's assume best case scenario because Brock Purdy is the one that's playing. Let's assume they win the Super Bowl. He is given the keys. You trade Trey Lance. What can you realistically get for him? I don't know. A second, probably. I think that's realistic. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of teams that are going to want a 22-year-old quarterback who has all the physical capabilities, is a hard worker, smart, and is a pretty damn good football player. So I'm sure you can get something for him, but is it worth it? Let's say best case scenario, they could recoup a late first. Let's say that. Like, maybe they have to throw in a fifth or something. They could recoup a late first. Is that worth it? And are we positive? Are we positive that Brock Purdy's the guy? We're so confident that not only is Brock Purdy the guy long-term forever for this team, but B, he's going to stay healthy. Let's not forget that in the Kyle Shanahan era, this is the fourth year where the 49ers have turned to their third quarterback, not their second quarterback, their third quarterback. Last year, they turned to their second quarterback, and both those guys got hurt. Luckily, they had a bye week. One of them could get healthy, and so they didn't have to turn to a third quarterback in a fifth year. I think having depth at the position is good, especially when both players are young, especially if they both have to compete for the job. You're going to get the best out of both of those players, and they're cheap. To me, I'm keeping both of them. That's just me. And that it doesn't matter who the starter is. Let's say, I don't know, Purdy falls on his face in the playoffs. They just give the keys over to Trey. Great. Or they have a quarterback competition and Trey's the guy. Man, and I posted this on Twitter, if the Jets, let's say the Jets offered a second rounder for Purdy and they're not starting him, would you take that deal? He's the backup quarterback. 49ers have decided that Trey Lance is the guy. With the injuries we've seen, are you willing to take a second for Brock Purdy or a second for Trey Lance? I mean, I don't think I am. I think having two young quarterbacks at a cheap price is pretty damn enticing, especially the way that the 49ers work through quarterbacks. So that's just me personally. Twisted Clown, when will McGrab and Hold get benched? For who? I mean, who else is on the team? Are we just in a roll with Brunskill? And then what if somebody else gets hurt on the inside? We got to go back and rotate everybody back through. I mean, I think it's probably safe to say that McGlinchey most likely won't be back next year, but I don't know if he's going to get benched. I don't know for who. Put to bed, Kyle is a genius, and I'll accept. Yeah, I think that's fair. I think that the truth can be in the middle. I think right now, Kyle is a very good coach. Hell, a week ago or before I went to the Dominican Republic, I was saying Kyle Shanahan should be coach of the year. I think he's coach of the year. Right now, with what he's done, he's coach of the year. Is he a genius? I don't know about that yet. I'm not willing to go that far, but I do think he's coach of the year. I think he's a hell of a coach right now, and I think the 49ers would be crazy to move on from him at this very moment. So I agree with what Ryan was saying in the last call. And then Dustin says, who wins the tiebreaker between the Niners and Dallas if the Eagles lose out? Shoot, I'd have to take a look at it. I don't know who Dallas's losses are to. I know the 49ers have, what, 2 NFC losses? Is that what we're talking about? Yeah, 2 to the AFC, 2 to the NFC. Dallas Cowboys schedule. Let's take a look at it. I mean, that's what it comes down to, NFC records. So, how many? Oh, the Cowboy. Okay, so I know they lost to the Jaguars. Okay, they lost to the Bucks. They lost to the Eagles. And they lost to the Packers. The 49ers would own the tiebreaker. 49ers would own the tiebreaker. But again, we have to look at Minnesota. So if somehow that happens where they lose out, Minnesota loses one more game, 49ers could get the first seed. I don't see it happening. I really don't see it happening. I think Hurts will be back possibly as soon as next week. Even with Minshew, I think that they are a good enough team. They can figure out a way to get a win. But in the scenario you're laying out, the 49ers would own that tiebreaker. So that's fantastic. All right, I'll get to the rest of the Super Chats after this call. I don't want to make Eric wait any longer. Eric, I hope you are ready to go. If not, I'll go to William. What's up, Eric?
Hey, how you doing tonight?
Hey, how you doing, man?
I'm doing just fine. I'm actually a big Seahawks fan, but I like to listen to you guys as well.
Well, I appreciate you. Did you come over from Brandon's stream by chance?
Which one's that? I think it was Beto.
No. Oh, Beto. Yeah. No, that's Brandon is a Seahawks guy. Seahawks Nestor. I did a show with him. I thought maybe you came over from him.
You know, that probably is where I came from, actually.
What's on your mind tonight, brother?
Well, not much. I'm glad you all won today. That's a big win for you guys. Yeah, the Hawks lost, but I also got family in Missouri, so I'm happy either way.
Yeah, absolutely, brother. Listen, we got a huge win today. The 49ers, as you know, beat the Seahawks last week.
Yep.
We're able to clinch a playoff spot. Right now, the 49ers are fighting for the number 2 seed, and 8 straight wins going into Christmas. As a 49er fan, it definitely does feel good. Absolutely, Eric.
I tell you, I mean, you guys are on a very hot streak right now. Yeah, you guys.
Yeah, do you think? Okay, as an outsider, let me ask you the question, Eric. Do you think the 49ers are the best team in the NFC right now as it stands?
Well, I mean, there is Philly and Dallas and Minnesota and all of them, but I think it's very close.
You think what? Sorry, I didn't catch the end of that. Eric? No, I lost it. I didn't catch the end of that. I was curious to see, as a fan of another team, like what he thought about the 49ers. I heard him say, he talked about Philly, talked about Dallas. William, I'll bring you on. Maybe you can finish it, because I missed the very, very end of what he said, and then the call dropped. So let me bring you in and see what he said. I think you might have caught it. What's up, William? How are you?
Hey, how you doing, Jesse? Long time.
Doing good, man. What did he say at the end? Did you catch it?
Close. He thinks it's very close.
Okay. Yeah. At the very end, it was like he cut out, and then all of a sudden he was gone. So, well, that's good. I mean, so that right there is a outsider fan, Seahawks, saying that he thinks that the Niners might be the best team in the NFC, and I don't know. I think the best way to gauge your team, a lot of times we're in it and we're obviously fans of the 49ers, so we're going to give our team the benefit of the doubt. I think it's nice hearing from other fan bases and them being able to kind of tell us, hey, like as an outsider, this is what I think of your team. And especially with a third string quarterback, I think a lot of people are starting to realize, oh man, maybe the Niners still are legit, regardless of who their quarterback is. So good problem to have. How you been, man? How you living?
I'm living good. I'm living good. Every day is a blessing. Just been really busy with work. My agency has split into two agencies, so you haven't really seen me as much because they took my department and split it in half. So it's just been a lot of work. But I I definitely wanted to give you a shout out, my brother. I think one of the best ideas you've had was behind the enemy lines. Like you
Thank you,
said, to
man.
get the take from the opposite opponent's side. I also appreciate, even though you were in the Dominican Republic, that you did put up that enemy lines with the Washington Commanders channel guy. I don't know his name. I'm sorry.
Yeah, Deuce, man. Deuce from Red Zone in the Lab, really cool guy. And I'm happy that I was able to get it up. We actually recorded it Friday morning before I left, and then I just threw it out for Wednesday. But basically everything we talked about was still relevant, because Washington was still right there for the playoffs. Chase Young hadn't yet played. And so we kind of talked through that. He thought that Chase Young would play in that 49er game. And yeah, man, I'm really digging the behind enemy lines because learning about the other team, I think it's safe to say that we're all football fans. We all watch football. We all love football, but our knowledge of other teams is not near what it is for the 49ers. And that's the way most fans are. I mean, they have a team, that's their primary focus. And then you start to watch other teams, but you watch them in small sample sizes. And so to get a picture of what other players look like, what other coaches, what other teams look like from the insider aspect, I absolutely love it, man. So I'm glad you're digging it too.
Oh man, I think it's very educational, not just for me, but I think for all 49ers fans, just on the fact of what you said. Some people just have their team and they just know their team. And me, I'm a football fan, so it really hurts me when football season is over. I really love football. I coach youth football. And so I'm just overall football fan. And I think it just, like I said, instead of people just coming on the chat or whatever and just giving a biased, uneducated opinion, it actually allows them to learn about other teams and have a more informed opinion before they actually even chat. So I think that was a great idea that you had.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it. I've been enjoying it a ton. Hopefully, I don't know if there's any Madden fans in the chat, but I'll give a preview to who I think I've got everything worked out with. We'll see how it goes. But as of now, I've got him coming on the channel. Mazomatic, huge in the Madden community, one of the most popular Madden streamers, is a Raider fan. He's actually signed to our favorite. What's his name? Colin Cowherd, The Volume. He's signed to The Volume as their like main Madden gamer. So super cool guy. I've been watching him for years, consuming his content, and he's a Raider fan. I'm like, hey, you know what? I think it'd be cool to have on Mazomatic. So anybody who's a Madden guy would know who Mazomatic is. Super fun, great content creator. Hopefully he'll be behind enemy lines for this coming Wednesday. So
yeah. If I could just kick out a quick couple thoughts. I think Jimmy has played and other than Purdy going down in the playoffs or any one of these games, I think Jimmy has played his last game as a 49er.
Oh, yeah.
Overly, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, to your point, you said barring Purdy going down and Jimmy coming. Yes, I agree with you. Yes.
I mean, he's overly shown that what he does is not only replaceable, but can be moved to a higher level. That actually with this offense, it kind of showed Jimmy up to like, woo, damn, the things that really holding us back is in the quarterback field. And I don't think that this couldn't be Trey Lance. I think, and I'm a Trey Lance supporter, don't get me wrong. I think the only thing Trey needs to work on, and is because I think he set out the COVID year and haven't had as much experience as Brock Purdy, is just to get his touch together. I think he does throw it a little hard. So the team is like, hey, he's zipping it too hard on plays that he really should just be adding a little more touch to. And I think Purdy, by playing 4 years of school, has that touch and has that awareness that I think you only can get with experience. And I think that's why people think Purdy is oh so suited. But as you've seen during this Commanders game, the NFL will catch up with you. He two block balls. That's because Purdy's kind of short, but he knows how to roll out and like Russell Wilson accommodate that. But as you see, he's got picked off. I mean, as time goes on, like I said, the NFL will more tape and more tape will be on Purdy. So I'm not gonna make him the overall, give him the keys to the car quarterback. I think he's doing a great job. Like I said, I'm a Trey Lance fan, and right now Purdy is the key. He's our quarterback right now. So anybody who's still harping on Jimmy, I said it to all the Jimmy fans. Don't get me wrong. I appreciate everything Jimmy did for us. Don't get me wrong. But Jimmy time, just like Henry Cavill just said about playing Superman, his time to wear the cape has passed.
Yeah, I'll say this, William. We still don't know what Trey Lance is, and I think we can all agree on that. I think people think they know who he is. There's a lot of people that think he's not going to be any good. There's people like me who think he's going to be really good. But if you're just asking, do you know for sure who is Trey Lance? Nobody knows the answer to that.
But do this. Try running Purdy through the middle. Like,
oh yeah, no, that would be dumb. It would be stupid. But William, I guess what my point was, let's say Purdy turns out to be great. We don't know what Purdy is either. We're still
right.
Very early in this process. We're not going to know who any of these quarterbacks are, in my opinion, just my opinion, until the end of next year at
Right.
the earliest. So, but let's assume that Brock Purdy ends up being the guy. Guess what? Jimmy Garoppolo fans, you may end up being right. Trey Lance is not the guy. However, your phone is ringing there. Hold on a second. Now I got to echo. I'm going to mute you. You may be right. Like, Trey Lance isn't the guy, but Jimmy Garoppolo wasn't either. Nobody saw Brock Purdy coming. So if Brock Purdy is the guy and long-term ends up being that guy, you don't get to just like victory lap and say, oh, all you Trey guys, because all you guys are people that bandwagon off the Jimmy train and over to the Purdy train because you don't like Trey Lance. Like, we're all wrong. We were all wrong because Jimmy wasn't the guy and Trey wasn't the guy. You know what I mean? So I think it's funny though. We'll see how the whole thing plays out.
I totally agree with you. We don't know who Purdy is. He's having great games and he's playing with a lot of intelligence. Like I said, we won't know who Purdy is until next season, after people have watched tape on him. And the way you know somebody is great, when somebody knows who you are, but you still can make those plays. When they already prepared for you, but you still can make those plays. That then we'll know Purdy's the guy. As for Trey Lance, I think I would like to see Kyle call the same offense that he's calling for Purdy. Let Trey Lance run that Jimmy offense. I don't think Trey is a scrambling quarterback. He's not a running quarterback. That's not his strength. It's just an option if he needs to. The same way Purdy's doing it. Purdy's not a running quarterback, but when he needs to get out of there and protect himself, he moves. And I think that's why I was saying on Grant's show that I think Purdy is closer to Trey's skill set than to Jimmy's. So, but right now, I'm just happy we winning. I do have a bold prediction before I go. Bold prediction for you. I believe, and it is possible, that I believe Minnesota can lose out because they're barely winning off shoestrings. And I believe Philly, that Saints game, could be the sleeper for Philly and can knock us up into that number one spot. I'm just saying. That's my bold prediction.
Okay, I love it. Hey, William, I'm gonna get you out of here, man, because I got people waiting. I'm gonna go to Keith next. I appreciate you, man. Hey, I love it. That's a hell of a bold prediction. If the Niners get a bye week, though, oh, buddy, if the Niners get a bye week. Richard G says, so Jason doesn't want my money. I'm happy to give it to you. I don't, was Aponte live or something? All right. Well, either way, I appreciate it. I'm happy to give it to you. Can they fix their secondary issues before the playoffs? Man, oh man, oh man. That's the thing about this Niner team. Like, if there's just a kind of a chink in the armor, so to speak, when it comes to this defense, is they can get got deep now. That's happened multiple games. But then if they do get got deep, can you get in the end zone? Because if you don't score, you might not. I mean, you're probably going to be held to 3. We see that with the 49ers a lot. But Lenore didn't have his best game. Mooney's been in and out. I pray. I tweeted out a little prematurely. I don't know why I thought, but I had heard that he had a concussion, is what I thought the telecast said. I must have heard it wrong. But that would have been a concern because that would have been his second one in 10 days. I think he was being evaluated for one. Remember now, last week, they said that he didn't have one and then later came back a couple days later and said he did have one. So I don't know, praying that is not the case here. But yeah, they've got some things they've got to clean up for sure. To fix it, though, I mean, if you're saying to make this thing perfect, I mean, outside of swapping out the players, and I don't know who the hell is out there that you can go get. Not anybody really. I don't know, man. Jimmy Ward's playing good. Travarius Ward's playing great. Hafunga's playing great. But, he can get got deep. That's still a thing. Gibson is playing great, but he can get got deep a little bit. And then Lenore is, he's playing good. He's playing better than probably what we expected. But if there's a weak link, it's probably him. And you add that in with the safeties getting beat deep. I mean, this is probably something that's going to carry through the playoffs, unfortunately. I just think the skill sets match up for that to be a problem going through the playoffs. I'm sorry that I couldn't fix it. I just don't think there's a realistic answer to say, hey, you do this, it's solved. I think this is just kind of the way that we got to roll a little bit. But the flip side of that is Hafunga, who gives up some of those deep plays, he does it because he gambles. And sometimes he gambles right. And when he does, those plays are being made. All right. You're getting the big hits, the fumbles, the interceptions, the sacks, all those things that come along with it. And so you kind of just got to live by what's gotten you here to this point. And, we'll see how it plays out. I also trust. I mean, you got to trust in the defensive coordinator, man. D'Amico Ryans has been a hell of a defensive coordinator. He's adjusted phenomenally. So I don't know. I don't, especially in the NFC, I just don't see that elite quarterback that can really punish the 49ers, play in and play out, series in and series out. I do think in the Super Bowl, that's when you could see it really be an issue, but we're a long way away from that one, brother. I appreciate the contribution to the show, though. All right, Keith, we're bringing you in.
Hey,
what's up,
man, what's
How
up?
are you?
What's up, brother? How you been?
I've been fantastic. How you been?
Man, it's been a while.
It has been a while.
I got to get back going with you, but hey, you said all the points I was gonna say. Like, I love Hafunga. He's a give and then give away type of guy. More so give away because he hits. To your point, he causes sacks. But when he gambles wrong on long passes, it's bad. Like we saw against the Kansas City game. But more so often, his instincts, I believe in them, and they're correct. I think I'm with you. Let's not give him a Trey yet. Like, we're doing too much talking about that. Now, Brock is playing well, and he's doing a lot. And if we're going to get 37 points a game, we're not going to lose a lot. That's just a thing. So I think that's something Kyle and them are going to look at in the offseason. That's not up to us. But I'm not ready to give up on Trey yet. But I did not. I expected Brock to play well, but how he's playing is way ahead of his game than what I thought. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, 100%. And I want to bring this comment on because I think it goes perfect with what you just said. Bomber saying Jesse is still questioning Purdy. Bomber, again, it depends on how you look at the question. Is the question the way that Keith proposed it, which is, do you think he's playing way better than where he was drafted? Then no, I'm not questioning Purdy. He's 100% come in and done.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like if that's the way the question is being
he
put,
would not be the last pick of the draft if they thought he could do this. If anybody thought he could do this.
For sure. And again, I've got tweets in late 2021 and texts going back to 2020 saying I like Purdy. So I'm not questioning Purdy from
100%.
You know what I mean? So but hold on, but Keith,
who's the other guy that be on with Grant? Who's the other guy to be on with Grant that was talking a lot highly on Purdy? Damn.
Larry Kruger.
Correct. Kruger was talking on, and you were talking on him back in the spring, summer. 100%.
So I want to say this though, but Bomber, if the question is, hey, are you willing to say right now in this moment that Purdy is the franchise quarterback without question? And let's assume that Trey Lance isn't the answer. We're going off assumptions.
Right.
Let's assume that Trey Lance is a bust. He's not any good. Even if that's the case, am I going to sit here today and say Purdy is the franchise quarterback for the next 10 years? No, after 4 games, I'm sorry.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo started 5-0, then he got injured, then he had a pretty damn good 2019. I was questioning Jimmy all through 2019, and people were like, oh, you're an idiot. Jimmy Garoppolo, what more can he prove? Now we're in the Super Bowl. You look stupid. Da, da, da. Okay, where are we at now with Jimmy Garoppolo? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, these things take time. And I always say this, even about Zach Wilson, who I did not like coming into the draft process. I said he was most likely to bust.
Anybody did not like
I didn't like him. But what did I say? Even with him, as bad as he's played, I would still give him 1 more year because all players deserve 3 years. And that's good or bad, because I've seen players come in, show out really good for 12 to 19 games and then fall off of a freaking cliff. And I've seen players look really bad and then gain momentum and be really good. So I'm not making any sweeping judgments. I'm not willing to call Trey a bust, which a lot of you, Bomber, I know you're one of them. Hey, after 4 games, you're willing to say not only is Trey Lance a bust, but Brock Purdy's the franchise guy. Give him as much money as he wants. That's where a lot of the fan base is. And I'm not willing to do either of those things, but it's not because I don't like Purdy and I'm so in love with Trey that I can't give it up. It's because that's how I evaluate players. I never make rush decisions after 4 games into somebody's career. I don't do it with anybody. I'm not going to start with Purdy or Trey Lance.
But I want to go somewhere else besides quarterback nails, if that's okay. Okay, so there has been a lot of 49er YouTube or whoever that actually want to get rid of Greenlaw, right? Let's give him his propers. He playing at all-pro level this year. Let's go. Like, Greenlaw is balling. So everybody that said we don't need him anymore, that did whatever, and I'm happy we signed him to a new contract before the season, because right now we'd be owing him a lot more money.
Well, I think the contract got done after the Bears game, which was his worst game of the season. And it worked out perfect.
Right.
They split it in, right? Like perfect. But listen, Keith, that's a great example too, because what I'm saying doesn't apply to just quarterbacks. It applies to all players across the league. I give everybody 3 years. And the reason I do that, I think Greenlaw is a great example. He captured everybody's heart in 2019. Then he gets injured last year. Azeez Al-Shaair comes in, plays fantastic, and everybody's like, oh, get rid of Greenlaw. Sign Azeez.
We got Shaair. That's right.
Now where are we at with that? You know what I mean? So making rush decisions, I'm just not willing to do it.
I'm not either. I want to thank you, because I think I'm about to be a content creator with the 49ers, man. And you're one of the guys that, I've been following you a long time. I shoot you super chats. We talking all that. I want to thank you, man. You've been an inspiration to me. And you're a great content creator for the 49ers.
Keith, thank you so much, man. You have always supported me. I appreciate the hell out of that. And you know how to get a hold of me, either through Twitter, email, whatever. any help you need, man. If I can help anybody fast track and not go through some of the BS that I had to go through to figure things out and just help anybody get ahead of the curve, I'm definitely willing to do that. So anything I can do to help, do not hesitate to reach out. I will do whatever I can to help you out, give you any tips or pointers or any things that I struggled with early on, and just help you kind of fast track if I can.
Hey, thank you. End of the day, it's bang bang Niner game. Let's go. Let's get this chip.
Let's go, Keith. Absolutely. We're going for number
All right.
6, brother. Let's hey, you have a Merry Christmas, and real talk, man. Hit me up if you have any questions. I am willing to help you out and answer anything that I can, okay?
Hey, thank you, brother.
All right, Keith. Have a good one. Hey, what's up, Ted? How you doing, man? All right, let me make sure I'm not missing a super chat. JG 49ers and then Gammon. That's what we're going to go through here. Hold up. Sorry, y'all. I'm usually much better at keeping up with the chat, but you guys are going crazy today. Tracheotomy comes back, says, I don't understand people that have a problem with how Kyle used Trey. He's been used like that at every level he's played. Also surprised that the O has looked as good as it has all year without Debo. Yeah, I did a show. I often do this. I piss people off, but it was a real conversation. And just asking, what does Christian McCaffrey bring to the table, and does he devalue Deebo Samuel? And the conclusion I came to is, yeah, he does naturally. Now, that's not saying that Deebo Samuel's not important. They need Deebo Samuel. They want to win a Super Bowl. He's going to have to be on the field. But as far as what he was asked to do last year, as long as Christian McCaffrey's here, he should never be asked to do anything up to that amount ever again, regardless of what he's paid. So, it is very impressive. As far as how they use Trey, listen, the reason that I have a problem with it is twofold. Coming into the draft process, very, very early on, before we moved up to 3, I didn't like Trey Lance at all. There's video out there on Grant Cohn's where I said that Trey Lance paired with Kyle Shanahan would be the biggest disaster. Okay. However, what happened was we moved up to 3. I got the all 22 on all these players, was really able to dive deep, watch all of them. And I'm like, man, Trey Lance is special. Like, I think this kid can be elite at the next level. Didn't like Zach Wilson very much. Didn't like Mac Jones very much. Was cool with Fields, either Fields or Lance, preferred Lance, was cool with either one. But to me, the separation was Trey Lance in that passing game. I mean, what he was asked to do at North Dakota State, getting under center, calling out his own audibles, calling his own protections. The playbook was very verbose, all those things. That's why I wanted Trey Lance. And then I looked at him and said, okay, now he can get mobile also on top of it. Now, one thing that I did say is calling designed runs to the outside is not going to be his thing. He's not going to be a guy that's going to beat defensive ends to the outside. He's a guy that takes a little bit to get up to speed. And when he breaks the pocket, it's usually up the middle. That's where he likes to go. But as far as just outright calling, running plays for him up the middle on 2nd and 8s or 13 times a game, I mean, I couldn't get behind it. I mean, he was running at a historical rate early on in his career. He's not that guy. Yes, he can get mobile, but that's not his preference. Even in the Arizona game, his first start, right, where things looked a little shaky, his pocket presence wasn't the best. There was a lot of things that he needed to improve on. Even in watching that game, when he did best running, first play of the game, he had a defender coming off the edge. It was supposed to be a pass. He broke up the middle, ran to the outside, picked up a first down. But if you watch him when he would choose to run in passing situations, it was always run up to the line of scrimmage, keep my eyes downfield, try to make a throw first. Then if it's not there, I'm going to run. But there were multiple times where he got close to the line of scrimmage, breaking the pocket and threw the ball. That's his preference. So as a player, I think a lot of people make assumptions. They see a 6'4" guy who can move and they think, oh, this is a running quarterback. That's not who Trey Lance is. He's a guy who wants to throw. He's a guy who wants to play from the pocket. That is his preference. So to run him the way that they were, I never agreed with it. I just think that a lot of people really have Trey Lance messed up as far as who he actually was coming out of college. And when you listen to him after the Bears game talk about how he didn't want to run and his preference was that he wasn't running as much in a roundabout way, basically saying, hey, I'm not athletic enough to beat these guys on a regular basis. They're too fast. They're too strong. I got to protect myself. Well, next game, he snaps his leg in half. So Trey Lance knows who he is as well. Kyle Shanahan, I assume, knows who he is. To run him like that, I never agreed with it. That's my personal opinion. But, hindsight's 2020, I guess, right? It's easy to talk after an injury. All right, JG 49er, coming to you. What's up? How are you?
Hi, JC. How are you? I'm fine and very happy the Niners just won another ball game with a third-string quarterback, the last pick in the draft. We all should be hysterical right now.
Hell yeah, we should be. Eight in a row. We got a holiday coming up, right? For most of us, it's Christmas. We're a few hours away, at least on the East Coast, from celebrating that. I mean, there really shouldn't be anything to be upset about as a Niner fan right now. We got it pretty damn good, I would say, JG. We got it pretty damn good.
Yes, we definitely do. Being that said, we need to acknowledge that Purdy is playing great because
100%.
of the expectation. I mean, he's beating expectations. He's overachieving, we can say. So we need to take into account that there is enough tape on him now. And I think it kind of showed in this game against the Commanders. He was not dominating like he dominated a injured Tampa Bay defense, but he's still doing good enough. He's making the right decisions, and he is definitely playing at the best of his abilities. He already threw 3 picks on this season, but let me tell you something. I do not blame him for either one. The one today, not his fault. Maybe he underthrew a little bit, Jennings, but still, he bobbled it and let it live on the air for like 1.5 seconds. Not for his fault. The first one was on garbage time. Don't remember if it was week 4, week 5 or something. He threw a pick on a drive that was just there to kill time. And the second one was on a 4th down and 8 or something by the end of a second quarter. So he had to make that throw. Whatever happens, good. It was like a semi-punt, let's say. So I don't blame him for either one. He is also playing hurt. Let's remember that. And a injury into obliques for a quarterback, that's not insignificant. That is something. So what can we expect from him is what we're seeing. Let's say, like Garoppolo used to play before his 2018 injury, which is pretty damn good. I mean, it was worth $130 million for the 49ers. So hell yeah, that's great. Also, Kitto's having a great comeback now. 4 TD passes in 2 games. That is good to see. Grant did mention on his instant analysis that it seems like Garoppolo was holding him back. Maybe so. But the thing about this offense that really worries me is McGlinchey. It's still McGlinchey, and I think it's been McGlinchey for a while, which is one of the reasons I personally question the McCaffrey trade, not because of what McCaffrey can or cannot do on the field. I mean, that is a no-brainer. But I think the needs of this team to be a serious Super Bowl juggernaut was to get rid of that weak link on the offense, which is McGlinchey, that at the time of the trade was injured. We were not even sure what we were going to be able to get from him for the rest of the season. And also, to help out this best defense of the NFL, that was looking like an historical defense, which was the loss of Eman. Get another starting corner, so Lenore won't get that much exposed. Either Lenore or Ambry, when they've been asked to step up, they have. But since they're not premier starting quarterbacks, within time, they're going to get exposed like it happened today. So I would go for, I don't know, one of those picks for McCaffrey to get a starting tackle that put pressure on McClinch on the very least, or if he gets injured, you got someone that is in Brownskill, and a corner that takes off a little bit of the load to Lenore or Ambry Thomas, right? We didn't know who was going to start at that point.
Yeah. Okay. You said a lot there, and I agree with pretty much everything that you're saying up until the McCaffrey thing. But let's walk through it real quick. So Brock Purdy, 1,000% deserves his flowers. He's playing, especially again. Let's just look at the circumstances. 7th round pick, last pick of the draft, 3rd string quarterback rookie year. To do this right now is so clutch. The 49ers absolutely need it. They're in a desperate spot, and he's coming through no matter what. And so that's fantastic. As far as the corners go, I think you're right. Over time, that's what happens, when players aren't necessarily fully up to snuff as they play. They can get exposed a little bit. The cool thing about the NFL, and this is why I say 3 years for all players, is that now they get time to make the adjustments. As a player, people are going to adjust to you. How do you adjust to those adjustments? I'm curious to see how that plays out. As far as the draft goes, I think logically what you're saying makes a lot of sense, but there is just no guarantee, right? Like if you said, okay, I'm going to get a long-term number 2 corner, a long-term right tackle, and another player out of it, all right, you know what? I really could see where you're coming from, JG. The problem is it's a crapshoot. You don't know exactly what you're going to get. And what I do know is he may not be this year, but we're talking about an all-pro caliber player in McCaffrey who's been an absolute difference maker for this team. Man, ever since he's come in, I'm not saying that Purdy isn't good. I'm not saying Jimmy G wasn't having the best season of his career until he got injured. But both those things right now, what I do know for a fact, both of those things coincide with him being on the football field. He makes everybody's job easier, in my opinion. And I think right now that's invaluable. What do you think?
Yeah, definitely. He was having the season of his life, honestly, which is not saying an MVP caliber season, but it's pretty damn good. I didn't mean to draft somebody for the whole. I meant right now, draft for a player with those picks that they gave up for McCaffrey. That's what I mean.
No. I see what you're saying. Here, the good news is this, though, JG. If, although every time Purdy plays good, it makes this less of a possibility. But if somebody pays Jimmy Garoppolo, they're going to get a pick for him. If DeMeco Ryans, and honestly, I would hope that he would stay. I just don't see it happening. If he gets a job, they're going to get multiple picks for him. So they still have a lot of compensatory 3rd round potential picks coming their way. So, they could still recoup some of these guys and go out and get some of these guys too. So we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah. Well, that's definitely happened. Somebody's going to give Jimmy a payday. I mean, he played good enough. The only question will be if he's healthy at the time of free agency, which seems he will be. But well, being all that said, I think the number 2 seat is at hand. The Vikes are going to finish the season on the road in Green Bay and then Chicago. And well, we have to go to Las Vegas and finish the season against the Cards. So I think we should definitely keep playing for that number 2 seed. The number 1 seed is just definitely not a possibility. I think playing at home against possibly the Vikings in the divisional round will be significant. We saw it in the 2019 playoff. They had no chance in Levi's.
I don't think the Vikings have a chance against us anyways, man. To me, they seem so fraudulent. And I got a little excited. I was at the airport, headed to the Dominican Republic. I was in Puerto Rico, actually, at the airport. And the Vikings were getting smashed in that game. So not only did I tweet it out, but I put it on the channel. I'm like, 49ers are getting the number 2 seed today. Completely jinxed the process. Either way, if the 49ers have to go to Minnesota or the 49ers get Minnesota at home, I just personally, I don't think Minnesota stands a chance. I think they're soft defensively. I think the 49ers will be able to run the ball all over them, control that game, and dominate Minnesota.
I agree with your assessment, Jesse. The thing that worries me about going to Minnesota is playing on turf. It doesn't seem to be a good thing for these 49ers. And when I say these 49ers, I mean the Lynch and Shanahan 49ers, all 6 seasons. So that's why I believe we should really go for it. Let's try it. It's still on the Vikings' hands, of course, but also get more reps to Purdy with the starters. Let's remember, he has 4 seasons of college starting quarterback experience. Yeah, sure, but 4 games minus a drive of as quarterback started in the NFL experience, which is kind of different. So let's get in all the preps we can. They're gonna be tape anyway.
I agree with you, and I think especially as teams get better and they get tape on Purdy, I think the more reps that he has, the better for him. I think that there is a balance. You know, the realistic thing is the 49ers are going to continue to compete for the number 2 seed. That's what they're going to do. However, you know, there is a balance. Hopefully, I would say best case scenario, they're blowing out Arizona early in that game and they can pull their starters early in the third quarter, mid third quarter, something like that, and avoid any injuries going into the playoffs. I think whoever they match up with in round 1, that's going to be a favorable matchup for them. Round 2, we'll see how things kind of fall. Most likely it would be a team like Minnesota. I think they match up well there. I do agree with your assessment on the turf, though. Would much rather play that game at home for that reason. That's a great call out by you. 100% the 49ers struggle on turf as far as injuries go. And then it's NFC Championship. Are you playing Dallas? Are you playing Philly? I don't know. But, man, I think getting those reps for Purdy is going to be invaluable for him. I think getting as many home games is always a great thing. And I didn't really think about the injury aspect. I think that's a great call out by you, and overall a great call by you, JG. I appreciate you.
I appreciate the time, Jesse. I already took like 12 minutes on your clock or something.
It's all good, man. It was a good conversation. I appreciate you. Have a good one, all right?
Yeah, you have a Merry Christmas.
You too. Thank you so much. All right, Gammon, I'm coming to you next. Emiliano says CMC propped up Jimmy G. True, but how doesn't he help Brock either? Last week, 50-yard T. Yeah, I don't think you're addressing me, maybe somebody in the chat, but I agree with you. And again, I don't want to say that he's a product of CMC. I don't know that, but I know that CMC helps. All I know is Jimmy Garoppolo had never gone 3 straight games without an interception. As soon as he gets CMC, he goes 4 straight. Then he gets injured. Purdy comes in. Purdy's looked really good. I think CMC is a big help. I think anytime as a quarterback, you have a guy that you can almost guarantee is going to be open late in your progressions, it makes your job so much easier. Being able to go 1 to 2 to 3. Even Jimmy Garoppolo, who normally, they call him Jittery G for a reason. It's because when he gets past that first read, he starts to get bouncy in the pocket. Feet start to move. You can see a little bit of panic. I don't know about you, but towards the tail end, really in that Rams game forward, all of a sudden that panic started to disappear. Why is that? It's because he knows he can rely on CMC. And Brock Purdy, holy crap, has he relied on CMC. CMC is super important to this team. And I don't think JG 49ers was trying to make the claim that he wasn't. But I just had to reiterate, I'm fully in the corner of the CMC trade, because what he has done to help these quarterbacks make their life easier, man, I don't think that there's really an argument that could state otherwise that I'll listen to. I mean, CMC has been so damn impressive for this team, so important for this team, and I don't think that's been debatable. My finger hurt says, I think it's going to be hard for Kyle to move off of Purdy. He can run whatever he wants with him. Definitely didn't get the feeling with Trey. I think if Trey stays, he becomes the next Jordan Love. Maybe. Also, I'll say this. When I made my statement earlier about 3 years, I mean, that goes all the way around. If Purdy, by the way, plays great in the regular season, and then falls on his face at some point during the playoffs, throws 3 picks, and is the reason they lose, I'm not going to bail on Brock Purdy either, because I think a lot of people are going to go the other way, right? And I get it. Like, as fans, we get emotional. We get caught up in the moment. We get captured by great stories. That's what being a fan of sports is all about. I'm not trying to begrudge anybody for doing that, but being here and having 246 of you watching, appreciate all the views, I have to look at things a little bit differently. Like, in my opinion, I don't think it would be fair of me to just come up every show, fanboy out, tell you everything's going to be awesome all the time, and just like, oh my gosh, I'm caught up in the moment, let's celebrate. Like, I think that would be boring to watch, first of all. And second of all, it wouldn't be genuine. So I'm just not going to crown somebody after 4 games. I'm not going to call somebody a bust after 4 games. And if Brock Purdy plays fantastic and falls on his face in the playoffs, I'm not going to turn my back on him and say he can't be good either. Like, that would be unfair just because he has 1 bad game. You know what I mean? So I just think that all these things take time. I think players take time to develop. Maybe they do turn it over to Purdy. Maybe they have a quarterback competition and Purdy wins. Like, I'm okay with all scenarios. I just want to win football games. But I'm not going to make a rush judgment on Purdy, good or bad, depending on 1 game, 1 throw, anything like that. I have my judgment of who I thought he was coming out of college, a player that I liked who has limitations. To me, I'm watching through that lens. I still love what I see. Everything that I loved about Purdy is shown up on tape. Pretty much everything that I didn't like, about Purdy or thought he had to clean up, I think is also shown up on tape. But it's early. It's okay. Like, let's just live in the moment. We'll see what the future holds. Maybe it's Trey. Maybe it's Purdy. Maybe they're both busts. Hell, maybe there's a scenario where one of them's our starting quarterback, the other one gets traded and is a starting quarterback and really good for another team. We don't know. We don't know how any of this is going to play out. But it sure is fun. It sure is fun to watch my finger hurt. Giants Niner fan, Merry Christmas to you and your family, Jesse. Merry Christmas to you as well. You are a great family man and an inspiration to all of us. I don't know. I don't know if I'm an inspiration to all of you. I appreciate you, Giants Niner fan. I really do. I would like to think of myself as a great family man. My family is the most important thing in the world to me besides God. I love this content stuff and all that, but I could lose it tomorrow and still be an extremely happy man. I'm very blessed with 2 beautiful children, a beautiful wife, a God that I trust in and I know has my back. So those are the things that are most important to me. And I appreciate you giving me the love as well. I'm just an OG, but I love your show. Thank you so much. Just keep on doing what you do. Let's frickin' go. Thank you, man. I appreciate it. And I know you've been rocking here at Last Second Sports for a long time, and that means the world to me as well. I appreciate you. Dustin says, my $10 got displayed, but not read and reacted to. Thank you. Where was it at, bud? Did I just flat out miss it? Hold on. My fault. Not on purpose. Sometimes I do that. And Grant does it too when we're on a show where you'll put it up and it's up there for so long that you think you reacted to it and you didn't. So let me try to find it. Here we go. Oh, there it is. I see it. If the Niners win the Super Bowl with Brock Purdy, I think it's still better to have a QB competition next year. If they win the Super Bowl, it'll likely be because of their defense and offensive weapons with a serviceable quarterback. I agree. I don't think having a quarterback competition is bad. I think having a quarterback competition is going to get the best out of both players. I think you got 2 guys who genuinely like each other, 2 guys that are young, 2 guys that are developing, and 2 guys that want to be the starting quarterback for this team. And I don't think that's a problem. I think that's a good thing. Even if I know I'm going to give the job to Purdy or I know I'm going to give the job to Trey, I'm going to portray it like it's a quarterback competition. Why not? Why not get the best out of both these players? That's what I'm trying to do. I think that's a great point by you. I agree with that 100%. Sorry I missed the first one. You didn't have to pay. just put it all in bold letters. I'm sorry you had to pay a second time just to have your comment read. Not on purpose by any means. I apologize. All right, Gammon. Bringing you on, brother.
All right.
What's up, man?
Not too much. How you doing?
Amazing, man. We're like 4 hours away from being Christmas. It's Christmas Eve. 49ers just got their 8th win. Dude, I couldn't be any better, man. Just got back from the Dominican Republic. Got a little tan from being in the sun. Absolutely, man.
Yeah. That was it was incredible to see you. You know, you were wearing flip-flops and you didn't have that weird sock tan or anything like that. So but I think something though that could help you out and could give you a little bit of a boost, right? Because you are doing great and 8 wins is wonderful. But if everyone could take just 2 to 5 seconds out of their day right now, it is the holidays, right? And just hit that like and subscribe button. Quality content, it gets out here, bleeds out even to the national media. The man works hard, just came back off of vacation, and he's pedaled to the metal. It's just one of those things that just means a lot. And especially too, I know there's a lot of people here that eventually want to become content creators. I did want to ask you one question. What was your takeaway from the amount of points that the Washington Commanders were able to score? Were you kind of surprised that they were able to put up that many points?
I was a little bit. I mean, the fact that I thought 13 points, and I said I don't see how they get past 13. I think a lot of that, though, is it's a week-to-week league, and you see how a team performs the week before. They performed their offense wasn't great against the Giants. You're like, okay, well, now they got to travel across the country, short week, play the best defense in the league, and you kind of form an opinion based off of that. Reality is this is the first time the 49ers have seen that team. Taylor Heineke's a serviceable quarterback. I mean, he's got a little bit of an arm on him. He's not scared at all to throw it downfield. And so, yeah, I mean, I'm not overly shocked, or I'm not going to make the biggest deal in the world about it. But was I surprised? Yeah, I'd say, I was a little bit surprised for sure.
Absolutely. I saw a question in the comment section. Someone was asking, what is Trey Lance's cap hit next year? And I'm kind of bringing this off of Spot Rack right now, but at least for 2023, he's got a salary of 5.5 million, but then a signing bonus right of 3.7. But you're really just kind of just looking at a big kind of cap hit of 9 million. So it's a lot. I think I might be
okay.
A little bit
Gammon,
off
real
on
quick though. Do me the favor, actually, and if you can't find it, I will. What happens if they trade him? Because everybody's like, well, trade Trey. What's the cap hit if they trade him? Because a lot of times you're actually going to take more money to trade a player than you are to just pay them to be your backup.
Yeah. So if we trade him, I mean, we're looking at losing that'll be a 20 million cap hit this year. Whereas next year, right? Next year it'd be a 10 million cap hit. You asked a couple good questions, and I kind of wanted to give my quick 2 cents on it. One of them was, if someone came knocking with a 2nd round pick, and I know how starved we are for draft picks, would I accept a trade for Purdy for a 2nd round pick? And my answer to that is no, just because it is just so, you have a season where all of a sudden your quarterback goes out, right? And it's just not. We've experienced it as this fan base, but we've seen other fan bases experience it. I don't like to be in that position where our season is over. So having Brock Purdy there is just amazing. Both of these guys are on rookie contracts. It doesn't make any sense to move them this year, next year, or even the year after. Just having that competency, that level of competency in the quarterback room, it could be a decade before we have anything like that. Also, too. I really, really like and value and love and appreciate your transparency with how honest you are as far as your assessment with Trey Lance. You're really, really big, and you stuck to your guns with Justin Fields. but I like how honest you are with Trey Lance and you being a fan, regardless of how many people want to say that you're not actually a fan. But you being a fan, you do want Trey Lance to succeed. I was actually on the opposite side of the spectrum as you. I was actually really big on Trey Lance. One of the big things that I really liked about Trey Lance was that he's a very smart. He's that kind of guy, doesn't make the same mistakes twice, right? And I don't know if you've kind of seen that as well, but it seemed like he picks up pretty quickly, but he's still I would say like at least a minimum a year and a half behind Justin Fields, even if you played. What's your feelings on that?
Yeah, I first of all, I agree with you, and I'll point to this. So it's crazy watching quarterbacks and how fast they can figure things out and process. So Justin Fields is a really good example of this. Game to game, you're seeing the improvement. There was a game last year against the Steelers where they kind of befuddled him. They picked him off multiple times, almost had a few more. There was a coverage change. I forget what it is off the top of my head, but they were rolling coverage after the snap, and they were confusing him quite a bit. The very next week, the Packers tried to do that again to Justin Fields, could not do it. Justin Fields ripped it apart. He saw exactly what was coming, and you love to see that from your rookie quarterback. Trey Lance was making those adjustments mid-game, and that's kind of what you're talking about. To do that as a rookie, there was a couple mistakes that he made in that Texans game early on where you're like, man, I don't know, it's looking a little rocky. Well, the Texans tried to re-expose him in the second half with those same things, and he was able to pick it apart. He was able to recognize it right away, didn't make the same mistake, and was able to go through and pass through that game with flying colors. Mid-game adjustments for a rookie is a really, really tough thing to do. And I agree with you. I think that's one of the things that people overlook with Trey Lance as well is the mind aspect. They do. A lot of people don't give Trey enough credit for how smart he is and how cerebral he is and how much he actually wants to be a quarterback who can run, not a runner who can throw. That is the difference.
And I'm really glad that you said that eloquently and laid that out in the manner that you did, because that was one of my big reasons for wanting Trey Lance over Justin Fields. One of the things that I just found really unique was that Trey Lance has a really good feel for the pocket. He's kind of got that naturally kind of embedded in him. And when it comes down to, we're going to say the West Coast offense. But again, thanks to you, you're a big proponent and reason why I started writing articles. So now I could be better at articulating my points and myself. But I started breaking them down. And it's something I'm going to publish in the off season. But I took a look at the West Coast offense and how it's evolved from the 70s and did it every single decade all the way through. But what's one of the main kind of things is this is all about timing, right? And you're seeing that with Brock Purdy and that sort of thing. I think that Justin Fields, I just don't think that his mindset, his instinct, his football instinct, not his football acumen, but his football instinct, that instinct that you have as a player to just turn it and do it, right? And especially with that 4.3 speed, this is a rhythm timing based offense, and you need to be able to stay in that pocket and be in there and deliver that football. And I think that that's what's kind of going over everyone's head in regards to Brock Purdy, is how amazing that is. There's a reason why it usually takes 2 years to finally start to develop and flower in this offense, because it is such a rhythm and timing offense. I was scared that the defensive line for the Commanders was going to offset that rhythm, because Shanahan and Purdy are both rhythm guys. But that's the way I kind of looked at it and I interpreted it with Trey Lance, was that, as he gets consistency within that playing time, I think that he will kind of get a little bit better with that rhythm and everything else. And also too, I think that we kind of forget that he definitely has the first half jitters, but then he just turns into a different player second half. question I have for you is I'm just something just doesn't completely sit right with me as far as the offensive line. I just don't think that it's very athletic. You know, when I think about all these things, do you think that, you know, Banks, let's say, you know, regardless of the outcome of the season, do you think that we should have had we should have had Banks maybe playing on the right side with McGlinchey, kind of having that Notre Dame kind of fenced in, kind of locked down there, and then gosh, why am I blanking on his name? The
Burford.
no, not Burford. Let's see, the
Oh, you're
undrafted.
talking about last year, the left guard from last year. What the fuck is his name? Why am I blanking on his name?
It's such a good
Anyways,
question.
yes, go ahead.
But I know that he had such a good rapport with Trent Williams, but he was also too his spark score, everything else. It was just absolutely elite. We're talking about a 300-pound guard who could probably run about as fast as a lot of linebackers in the league. I just think that he just would have been an extreme pulling kind of guard. I would have liked to have seen basically just that slow moving
Lakin
kind
Tomlinson,
of right.
by the way, it just hit me. Sorry, Lakin.
Oh no, I'm sorry. I'm thinking of the undrafted free agent this year. This year he didn't make it on. Let me see, guys. I apologize. Hold on one second. Let's see here. OG.
I'm trying to think of everybody. They got Zakel. They got Poe.
Yes, Poe. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So, because I would have really liked to have seen it where we stacked a lot of athleticism on the left side, because one of the things that I think is kind of hard to do, because I'm looking at the scores, right? I'm really big into analytics. And by the way, some of you guys who are thinking about starting your own, YouTube podcast, being content creators, my plan is to, I'm going to start college here pretty soon in about 2 months, and I'm going to start becoming a digital marketer. But hopefully one of the first projects I can do is kind of help bring your voice to the masses there, Jesse.
I appreciate you, Gammon.
But not to get too sidetracked. When I start kind of looking at the scores, what's interesting is that you're seeing a lot of people want to get rid of McGlinchey, but one of the things that is interesting as far as like PFF scoring wise, he's the second highest graded offensive lineman on our team, right? So right behind Trent Williams.
Yep.
The lowest ranking or lowest rated person right now is Aaron Banks, and that's not something that we would think of. But I think it's one of those things where it would be really, really hard to just play next to somebody like a Michael Jordan, somebody that athletic, somebody that explosive, if they're getting to not only just their point, but they're skipping stones across the pond, right, and getting to the second or third level, but you're not that explosive. And I think that he kind of needs that running mate who can get out of that foxhole right at the same time that he went, and go from trench to trench with Trent. And I think that it would just match that style stylistically a lot better. And I think then having McGlinchey and Banks just kind of that slow, powerful moving wall on the right side, I think personally would have been the way to go. I don't know how you kind of feel about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think with the way that the 49ers ran the ball maybe in 2019, tried to in 2020, I could probably agree with that. Here's what I'll say about Banks. First of all, let me backtrack because you said a lot. I want to talk about the Purdy thing real quick because you were talking about Trey Lance. We talked about how Trey Lance adjusts mid-game, and that's what we like about him. Purdy, to his credit, I want to give him some credit now. He, you said that going into this game that you thought maybe Washington could get him off his spots, rush the offense a little bit. They did all of that. The first half didn't look fantastic for Purdy. The pick probably wasn't on him, but it wasn't a well-thrown ball by any means. There were a couple tip passes that could have been picked that didn't, weren't picks. And he looked rattled early on. I'm not saying rattled like he can't recover, but just like, wow, we haven't seen this from Brock Purdy. However, second half, Shanahan had confidence in him. He came out, I mean, I'm not going to say that they were like the most incredible throws he's ever made and tight windows and all this, but man, he really started to get comfortable and he was hitting wide open guys, which, listen, we can say that they're wide open, but you got to hit them. And Purdy, by the way, for guys that have been wide open, he hasn't missed. I can't think of one guy that's been running down the field wide open that he either didn't see or didn't hit when he decided to pull the trigger.
Jesse, I got a quick question to ask you. So do you remember a couple months ago, when Jimmy Garoppolo, he kind of reinserted himself as the starting quarterback, and there was that cut scene, right, where it just kind of just showed him on replay where he's going like, man, these effing plays suck. You remember that?
Yeah. That's, or at least that's what we thought he said. Yes, I remember that.
Right. What do you think he did when he saw Kyle Shanahan drawing up that Hollywood play for Brock Purdy? Do you think he was going like, where the hell was that play when I was quarterback?
Listen, here's the thing though. Again, it comes down to who you think can execute it and who can't. And, you know, right now, Purdy's doing a fantastic job there. So basically what I'm saying is we saw Purdy adjust mid-game as well. Now, I don't know if he was seeing the same coverages that he saw in the first half, because that's kind of more what we were talking about. Like, if you get fooled by something in particular, are you able to overcome that same thing in the second half? I don't know. I'll have to watch the film on it and make that decision based off of that. However, we do know that he wasn't playing his best football and he was able to overcome that struggle. So I want to give credit to him as well. Now, as far as the offensive line goes, yeah, I think having athleticism is always the way to go. I think Banks is actually pretty athletic. They asked him to lose a lot of that weight. I think that he is a little bit more of a lumbering type player, or was coming out of college. But one thing that Laken Tomlinson was not very good at all was when he was asked to be a pulling guard, it just wasn't something that he was great at. Now, this offense was able to execute around that, but I think Banks is actually a pretty damn good pulling guard. I think he's mobile when it comes to that point. And he did struggle. Let's not forget this. I wouldn't mind having him play right guard and have somebody else maybe, you know, next to Trent Williams, because Banks has been so good. Placing him next to McGlinchey might be the way to go. The problem is going from left to right or right to left. For some players, they make it look seamless. A lot of players really struggle with that. He really struggled on the right side of the line, which is what they asked him to do, on top of trying to lose weight. And we saw those struggles from him, but he was able to lose the weight eventually, get back to his natural position, and he really hasn't looked back. So I think a lot of that would pertain to, okay, can he actually play the right side? Because early on, he did struggle in that situation.
Absolutely. And a lot of times people were thinking, hey, is it Purdy can put up points unlike Jimmy could. We're going to take the NFC, and for once, I think we can run with the Chiefs and or Bills now. Let's freaking go. I absolutely believe this too, and I don't really think it's so much Purdy putting up the points, except for today. Some of the drives, some of the throws that he had were just absolutely gutsy. What I really think is interesting is we used to kind of blame, right? And when I say we, us as fans, we would blame the lack of receiving targets that Kittle we thought should have been getting, right? When Jimmy Garoppolo was the quarterback. So is it now fair to assume, and I pose this question to you, is it now fair to assume that the plays were there for Kittle all along? It's just Garoppolo, it wasn't, for whatever reason, and I don't have anything on this, but just didn't utilize him or didn't throw the ball his way.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. It's kind of funny that after their win in primetime on Thursday, you know, Kittle's out there wearing his Jimmy G feels great baby shirt with Brock Purdy. It was extremely strange to watch, but dude, can you put on a Purdy shirt? Like, because this kid is reviving your career right now and you look fantastic. I think the athleticism's always been there. Grant and I had a major disagreement on this early in the season. I went back and watched the first two games that Kittle played this year. I thought he was getting open. I thought athletically he was still the same exact player. Grant disagreed with me. And I think right now we're seeing that Kittle is still that same player. For whatever reason, they either weren't dialing up plays for him, or, you know, Jimmy wasn't getting him the ball. I don't know what, but what I do know is with Debo out, with Purdy in, Kittle looks like the best tight end in the league once again. And, you got to give some credit there. So, yeah, man, I think Kittle needs to put on a Purdy shirt, and I think Kittle is still a hell of a player. Yes.
I'm really, really proud of Purdy. I think that, he was originally slated to be a first rounder, and then for whatever reason, he dropped all the way down to almost not getting drafted. So maybe he's really supposed to be somewhere in the mean, right? Somewhere there in the middle. Maybe he's really a third, fourth round talent. But even then, he's playing just so far beyond that. I really do like the idea. I think that McCaffrey and Debo do complement each other so much. What I see a lot with McCaffrey, and I was really big on Jordan Mason. I was riding that bus, I think, before a lot of people kind of got on that. I kind of pegged him as somebody who was going to make it. But Jordan Mason, I think his role is great as far as the cleanup end of the game kind of thing role. Where McCaffrey really makes his money is we're looking at the first and second down, because you don't know if he's going to catch it or if if he's going to run it. You just don't know. And then you kind of have that same thing with Deebo Samuel. Now, what hurts us is when we get into like a 3rd and 9, a 3rd and 12, right? Somewhere where it's like a 3rd and long, then having that much duality with intermingled within the same thing, that is where we struggle. So we really have to be active or proactive in winning those first and second downs, because it really just throws the tempo off of the other team. And again, rhythm is just so important on our team. I really feel like a big snub too on this defense was Jimmy Ward. He's a guy that's been snubbed, I think, for just his safety position for a really long time.
Yep.
And if I was to be honest, I think that the hardest probably position as far as like in cornerbacks go, right? It's not your left corner. It's not your right corner. I think it's nickel corner. You can't really jam anybody. You have to just sit there, hunker down, and be on it. And for him to
you can't use the sideline as a defender.
Right. You can't do that at all. And we kind of forget as fans that a lot of the top wide receivers are actually slot wide receivers right now.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Even in our own division, and that sort of thing. So, did he deserve a Pro Bowl nod this year? No, but I think that, himself and I think McGlinchey deserve a little bit more credit than what I think that the 49er faithful are giving. Also, too, shout out to Javon Kinlaw. A lot of people kind of stuck a fork in him, left him for dead. I didn't see anybody, really mention him or bring him up, but he's huge as far as just his body. He's going to come up big when it comes down to teams like the Eagles, where they really want to run. And now we have somebody who can kind of stuff that. I don't know if you got a chance to really watch Javon at all, but what was kind of like your overall take as far as that was going?
Yeah, Gammon, I'm gonna pull you and I'll answer your question, because I actually do have a take on Javon Kinlaw. And if you watch Javon Kinlaw, that first major stop that they made on that 4th down was because of Javon Kinlaw. It was either the 3rd or the 4th down. I don't remember. I want to say it was the 4th down. He's the one that held that spot and allowed, essentially, he freed up Fred Warner to go make the play. And that's why Washington was unable to score when they were basically at the 1-yard line, was because of Javon Kinlaw. He made a huge difference immediately. Love to see that from Kinlaw. I think it's tough because with Javon Kinlaw missing as much time as he has with the same knee injury, having multiple surgeries, supposedly it was taken care of, then to see him be out for a big chunk of this year again, and hear Kyle Shanahan say things like, oh, we kind of expected that he could get fluid in there and it could act up and swell up. That does still give me concern that, man, this is not a short-term thing. This could be degenerative. And I think we'll find out this offseason what they think of Javon Kinlaw's health, because as a player, I think Javon Kinlaw is a fantastic player. I think he's shown it in short spurts. I hope nobody's questioning who Javon Kinlaw is as a player and how much he can impact the game. It's more around his health. And I think we're going to get the answers to those questions if he plays the rest of the season. and if they decide to pick up his 5th-year option, because picking up his 5th-year option means you're going to basically invest a ton of money to him in that 5th year, and you're expecting that knee can hold up. So is it a degenerative issue? If it is, I got to imagine they don't pick up the 5th-year option. If it's not, then I imagine that maybe there's a possibility they do. So I think we're going to get some of those answers. But as far as Javon Kinlaw as a player, I hope nobody's questioning him. I hope nobody's questioning his heart as far as trying to be out there, because that much is clear. He wants to be a part of this game. You've even seen him slim down quite a bit. And I think that is to help offset, some of those knee issues. Obviously, the bigger you are, the more those joints have to carry. I think Javon Kinlaw's done everything he can to play for this team. And I hope that people respect him for that aspect of it. But, it just comes down to, can he stay healthy long term? I think we're going to get some of those answers in the offseason, man. That was a great call, as always. Jan says Purdy can put up points. Okay, I think we got that one. Abated Impala, thank you for becoming a member. I appreciate you. And my finger hurt. Do you think Trey Lance deserved Rookie of the Year for his Texans second half? It was more impressive than anything Purdy has done. You guys sound insane. I don't I guess I don't know where you're coming from on that. I don't know where in this show I've said that Purdy is terrible, that what Trey Lance did in the second half was the most impressive thing that we've seen, more impressive than what Purdy's done. I don't think anybody said that on this show. I think you have an opinion that's different than mine, and I respect that. Everybody is entitled to their opinion, and, that's fine. Like, that's why we do the call-ins. That's why I would hope that if you really, really, really had an issue with what was being said, that instead of getting in the chat, talking a little bit of shit, getting in the comments after the show, talking a little bit of shit, you would take the opportunity to call in and let's talk through it, man, because I think I'm pretty reasonable. I think, I've had multiple people on here that have disagreed with me, in the past, and we've been able to work through that. Hell, I think Flav is a guy that's notorious in this chat that a lot of people can't stand. I actually don't mind Flav. We disagree vehemently on Jimmy Garoppolo and Trey Lance, but even he's called in and we've been able to talk through it. And we had a really, really good conversation. I think talking through situations, asking questions instead of making assumptions is always a good way to figure things out. Maybe your mind changes. Maybe my mind changes. Maybe it doesn't, but we get to talk through it and have a good conversation. So I do appreciate the contribution, but I don't think anywhere that I've said any of those things. I don't think I've crowned Trey Lance as anything. I think I've been very consistent saying that nobody knows who he is. I'm going to believe in him. Here's the thing about me, and maybe some people would look at this as a weakness, but let's take the Javon Kinlaw and Grant situation this offseason and how that blew up. How so many people wanted to get rid of Grant, cancel Grant, F Grant, blah, blah, blah. As a friend, I stuck by Grant's side during his darkest moment, potentially, right? A lot of people could look at that as his darkest moment. I could have easily been like, cool, I got my little platform going. I can bail on Grant. I got my thing. I don't need him. I didn't do that because Grant is a friend to me. So when I have an opinion on something and I believe in that opinion, I'm going to have conviction in that. I'm not going to bail on it when all the chips look stacked against it because I believe in that opinion. My opinion is Trey Lance is still going to be a very good quarterback in this league. Do I know that without a doubt? Absolutely not. But you don't know without a doubt that the kid's a bust either. You're assuming he's a bust. I think he's going to be a really good quarterback. I'm not then going to say, okay, this is an opinion that I had for a year and a half, 2 years. Let me completely bail on that at the first sign of adversity. The reason people don't reach their goals in life a lot of times, my finger hurts, is because they bail when they see adversity. I'm not going to bail on a friend when they're going through adversity. I'm not going to bail in my belief on myself when I'm going through adversity. I'm not going to bail on an opinion of a player when they're facing adversity until I know for sure, hey, you know what? I was wrong. And if he ends up being a quote unquote bust, I'll admit that. I don't have a problem admitting that. I'm just not going to do it this early into someone's career. I'm just not willing to do it. And I'm going to point out the things that I think he's done very well, the things that people completely overlook because they have an opinion that's different than mine. So that's what I have to say about that. Let's see. Make sure I didn't miss anything. Here we go. Hey, speak of the devil. It's like I had a mirror. I got it wet. I said his name 3 times and boom, there's Flav. He says, true. Solid win tonight. Merry Christmas, fellas. See, Flav knows. And a lot of you guys don't like Flav, and I get it. He has a different opinion than yours. I completely understand that. But I was able to talk through things with Flav. And even though we disagreed through the whole call, we had a real, genuine, good conversation. That's what I would ask. A lot of people, I get it. You see my take, you don't like it. And again, I don't mind you disagreeing. I don't mind even, talking a little bit of trash. Like, I'm cool with all that. I just think that if you vehemently disagree with me, the best way to get through that conversation is to have it right here on the show when I'm having a call in. I would encourage you next time to call in and let's have a conversation and let's talk through it. Maybe we can get to know each other a little bit and understand where the other person's coming from. And I think that, hopefully you're not too stubborn and I'm not too stubborn, that we can actually have a good debate. I think it'd be fun. So at any rate, Ori Fish says, when will the Vikings stop getting lucky? Oh my gosh. That team is like a cat with 9 lives. I swear on everything. Gosh, man. When they were down 33 points, I thought for sure it was over. Maybe I'm the one that jinxed it. I said it was over. I said the 49ers had the 2nd seed. Was completely wrong. Today, again, they should have lost. They lost to the Lions. I don't know. Hopefully in the next 2 weeks, they can find a way to lose and get the 49ers that 2nd seed, because the 49ers are the better team. I think that much is clear. I don't know when they're going to stop getting lucky, but that team has 9 lives. It's absolutely wild. That being said, hold on. Got one more. Grant is good at his job, but does he really believe what he says? If the Niners listened to him, we wouldn't have CMC, Purdy, or Kittle. Well, I'll say this. I talked to Grant, obviously, outside of the show. I think a lot of people look at Grant and think he's just coming up with a crazy take to start some ish. Grant genuinely wants to get the conversation going. And when he says something, he definitely believes it in that moment. Now, if it turns out to be a BS take, he will 100% also say like, hey, man, I was wrong. Shouldn't listen to me, whatever. Like, he'll make a joke of it, but he's willing to get the conversation started. And I think he does a fantastic job at that. And whether you like him or hate him, a lot of you people, will tune into him because you either hate watch or whatever, but he captures an audience. He does things differently than a lot of us other content creators. He's very animated. He's very funny. He's willing to put himself out there. He really doesn't care what you think. And, sometimes the takes can be wild, but if you're willing to put yourself out there, I'll say this. There's a lot of things that I've said that in hindsight were really, really dumb, but I believed it in that moment. There are also some really other things that I've said that seemed out there at the moment, but ended up being really right and really smart. When you have a platform and you're willing to have takes and thoughts on everything and not just fanboy out, you're going to have some takes that can be exposed later. You're going to have some takes that, are going to look great later, but usually people don't point those out. They just want to expose you when you look stupid. You know what I mean? So I don't know. But yes, he does absolutely believe what he says in the moment for sure. That being said, I hope all of you have a happy holiday. Merry Christmas. Go be with your loved ones. I'm going to go watch some Christmas movies with my fam. We're 3 hours ahead of you guys in the West. I appreciate all of you. Love you all very much for supporting, whether you like or you hate Watch Me. I hope you guys all have a blessed, happy, Merry Christmas. Enjoy your Sunday. Go be with your families. And I will be back at it again Tuesday. Much love, y'all. Have a great Christmas Eve and a great Christmas. Peace.